Hello guys and welcome to the second video of this week. Um, well, in the previous video we discussed certain things related to the objective descriptions, some of their components, some of their, let's say, most likely places in which they were able to be found, and well, some other things related to that. So, what we are going to do right now is to be discuss or to discuss sorry a little bit of the subjective description, like what seems to be the complete opposite to the previous category. So if you go to the slide number 46, and after hopefully having done the assignment number 1, in which you were required to do objective descriptions, I mean, like these different components or these different activities that were in there were oriented to, let's say, the fact or the goal of providing an objective description. So let's take a little bit. Let's take a look a little bit of some of the characteristics that we have in here of the subjective description. So if we take a look at the first feature that we find in there, it says that it is suggestive or persuasive. Normally, if we're talking about subjection, or the opposite to being objective, it means that the author, the person who is either writing or saying, who is employing the written discourse or the oral discourse in order to communicate a description, provides an opinion, provides a position, states somehow a point of view, and normally when we have that, we want to communicate that to other people. Yes, let's say that is the difference between the subjective and the objective description. So if in this type of description I have the freedom to be able to transmit this information, or to communicate my point of view, or to communicate my opinion, normally when I have that, I want other people to follow me. Yes, I want other people to share my concerns, to share my ideas, to share my preferences or dislikes, right? It is just human to somehow be interested into convincing other people about something. It means then that it is suggestive. Suggestive comes from suggestion or recommendation, right? So normally when I do, or when I create a subjective description, what I will try to do is to make some suggestions, to make some recommendations, to somehow, by the fact of describing, talking positively or negatively or neutrally about something for somebody. Yes, I want the other people to know my opinion or my position about that which is being described, or to convince that other person of something. So that is why it is suggestive or persuasive. Well, what would be the difference? The suggestion is just that, a recommendation, right? Like, it's a little bit more surreptitious, it's a little bit more, or let's say less persistent, less explicit, and the persuasion really has like the intention of convincing somebody else, of persuading somebody else in order to transmit this information, to transmit this opinion, and that is why we will try like to describe in a very good way, or in a very specific way, or detailed way, so the other person has more chances to somehow follow my lead in terms of the opinion or the idea that I propose. So that will be the first one. Normally it is suggestive or persuasive. The second one that is really important, it relies on the vividness to transmit impressions and feelings. So normally, as I am intended to convince somebody of something, as I am somehow trying to express my point of view, well, I am required to have a very vivid image, yes, a very vivid impression so I can affect somehow the feelings of somebody else. If I am trying to sell something, if I am trying to promote something, if I am trying on the opposite side to discredit something, to say that something is not good or that something is not worth your time or your money, well, I really require to transmit this information in a vivid way, so the other person has the possibility of experiencing what I'm supposing to suggest without the necessity of seeing that. Yes, so I can sort of paint that with words and influence him or her in any way. Okay, so it's very important, especially for subjective descriptions, that images are really detailed. Let's say that if we go back to the objective description, it was enough to say in the objective description that the part A goes in the part B in a manual, for example, right? So we do not require such an amount of detail because we are not trying to convince somebody that part A or part B in my furniture is better or worse. No, not really. I am not trying to sell this position. In this case, we are, right? We're trying to say that something is good, bad, regular, or whatever, and that is why it is really, really important to have this amount of description and words and adjectives and let's say descriptive words and verbs. I mean, all the vocabulary should somehow turn around the idea of expressing my opinion or expressing my position. Now, if we go into the next one, sensual or sensorial impressions are quite important. So try to transport yourself a little bit to composition class. Remember that back then we even had a chart for each one of the senses. Yes, for sight, for smell, for hearing, everything else, right? And we even did some exercises in which we completed that chart with words that were related. Sometimes nouns, sometimes the adjectives or different ones. But the idea is that transmitting this information in terms of sensorial things was really, really useful in order to provide a detailed description. Of course, these sensorial things are normally much more useful when we're dealing with physical descriptions, right? For people, for places, for objects. Sensorial things are not as practical, let's say, when we're dealing with emotions or some other intangible things. So if you're going to describe darkness or love or despair or depression, well, the sensorial ones, even though it's possible to use some of them, let's say that there are some smells that provokes a feeling of nostalgia, of happiness, of sadness, right? Normally, well, that is not the concept, okay? So sensorial impressions are really, really important in order to create good descriptions. So please always take that into account. What is it that you can describe from your senses visually, the smell, the noises that produce, the sounds, everything else, the touch, if it's smooth, if it's harsh, all these different things. And finally, let's say that this type of description is always going to try to provoke emotions. Yes? It's going to encourage the reader or the listener to feel something after the description or during the description. So if you describe something really well, you're trying to sell it, well, at the end of the description, the person is supposed to feel that he or she wants to buy the thing, right? If you are describing a movie, an album, if you are doing a review or on an artwork, for example, the person in the end of the description should feel the desire to go and watch the movie, visit the exhibition, buy a particular painting, or something like that. Again, if you're doing the opposite thing, speaking not so good, or not in a very good way about somebody or about something, well, what you expect to feel what you expect the person to feel, sorry, it's some sort of repulsion, no, rejection, not wanting to be around that person, not wanting to see that movie, not willing to buy anything of it because it's bad quality, or useless, so it doesn't provide as good service as the other one. Well, you're always somehow aiming to find all these different things, and find their response. Yes, let's say that for the objective description, you simply wanted to describe the thing, and didn't really expect a response. You wanted the person to be informed, you wanted the person to be instructed about something, but nothing more. Here, in the subjective description, you're always, or that's the point at least, you're always supposed to be waiting for a reaction, for a response, even if the response is opposite to what you wanted, no? Like maybe you describe a movie in such an ugly way that people get curious and say, hey, this is so bad, I need to see that. Yes, but that is a reaction, that's a response. So always try to do it in that way. Yes, so it's possible to do it. Well, so for this week we are going to have an assignment that has two parts. The second assignment is going to have two parts. First of all, this is going to be collective as well. So if you want to work in groups, you can work in groups of maximum 5 people for the second assignment. It's a little bit long, so I am including one more person, and that may be a little bit more manageable, okay? So first part of the assignment number 2, close attention. Remember, I am not going to place any more instructions on the assignments, so you really need to watch the video, okay? So you go to the slide number 47, and you will find 3 different activities in there. All of them, of course, deal with subjective descriptions, right? So try to use different from the number 1, in which we had objective description. So in here we're going to try to use all the features that I have just explained about the subjective descriptions, okay? So let's take a look at each one of them one by one, and hopefully we have it clear, okay? So the first one is this. It says, write a short description for a newspaper ad. You intend to rent this house. Yes? Maximum 3 sentences. So if you take a look at the slide, there is a really ugly and sort of creepy house that shouldn't be that comfortable on the right of the slide, and there's a picture of it. So you are going to publish a newspaper ad. You know, they are really short, really concrete. They just mention some of the generalities of it, so you don't have a lot of space. It says that it is maximum 3 sentences. Well, if you need to include one more, maybe even 5, but that's fine. That's fine. But try to keep it short, okay? And well, you are trying to rent this house. Yes, so if you're renting this house, it is obvious that you cannot be completely honest. Nobody's going to want to rent a house like this. So you need to decorate a little bit. Yes, you need to make it attractive somehow, but you cannot lie. Yes, let's say that this is a tricky instruction. Yes, but you not necessarily cannot say that the house is new, for example. So try to look for an alternative way to say that the house is old, but still making it attractive. So I give you an example. I wouldn't say that the house is old, but it is retro, or it is vintage. That sounds attractive, right? And something like that. So just please try to get together, think about a way in which it will feel attractive, even if in the end the customer feels like he has been taken advantage of. But well, this is an exercise, and the idea is that you are able to manipulate the description enough so that it is real, but that it sounds attractive enough to rent for somebody to want to rent the house. Okay. Well, that will be the first. Remember, 3 sentences. For the second activity of the first part of the assignment, you have to describe something that causes you disgust. Okay, something that is really disgusting. Remember, please, that disgust doesn't mean disgusto. Okay, it's something completely different. Disgust is well, not completely, but let's say the transparency of the word sometimes is tricky. That is called a false cognate. Something that is called in a very informal way, false friends. Anyways, so these false cognates sometimes are tricky and confusing. So, well, disgust is something that makes you want to puke, that makes you want to run away, that makes your skin crawl, that really, really produce a rejection on you. Okay, so describe something that causes you that. If you are this amount of people and you all have like different things that disgust you, well, select only one and describe it. Okay, please do not mention its name. Okay, the description should be good enough so when I read, I can guess almost 90% what are you talking about. Yes, so if it's a rat, if it's garbage, if it's vomit, if it's I don't know, whatever it is, so the description should be clear enough. I can try and guess. Of course, you cannot say what is the name, so you should really make the effort to do that. Okay, so that will be the second part. The next one, that is really, really important, right? It says try to remember a gift you always wanted as a kid and never received. That would be the first case. Like you always wanted that bike, you always wanted that radio control car, you always wanted that Barbie, you always wanted that pony, yes, and you never receive it. Okay, so describe your feelings concerning this, right? How did you feel? And please, I want you to be very concrete and descriptive. Remember, this is a description, right? So we have not yet described at a big level intangible things like emotions or feelings. So this will be a first, let's say, try to this one. So try to mention how did you feel. Okay, so that is the first case, something that you always wanted to receive and never received, right? Or that will be the second possibility, something that you always wanted as a kid and finally you receive it after a long wait. Yes, so precisely that Christmas or the next one or the next birthday or whatever, right? So you waited for it for a long time and eventually you got it. So I assume that you were somehow happy or joyful, although it's possible that you waited for it so long that it never fulfilled your expectations even after you received it, so you felt a little bit disappointed. Well, I don't know. So you're going to describe that. Okay, in this case we're going to take a little bit more of a space. We're going to try to do it in 5 sentences more or less, and that is what you will do. Again, if you are a collective, if you are 5, 4, 3, 2 people, so you decide on one of your experiences and you complete it over there. Okay, so that is going to be the part number 1 of the assignment. Okay, hopefully it's clear. Now for the part number 2, with the same group, in the same paper, with the same report, you are going to upload the same file. So you are going to go back to the slide 41 in which there is the diagram or the graphic for description. I have already explained this. I have already given you some examples. And you have already completed this for physical things. So what you are going to do right now, in this assignment, the second part, is to describe or to complete this graphic or this chart for an intangible thing. So it can be a feeling, it can be an emotion, or it can be anything else that is insubstantial. So describe love, depression, darkness, describe despair, describe joy, describe I don't know, anything that is intangible, anything that you cannot really touch or see. And this is going to be a more difficult exercise, right? But well, hopefully after all this background that we have and the alternatives that we have done and the practice that you were able to complete, so most likely you won't have as much trouble, okay? Also, I'm giving you the chance to work collectively on this. I know that it's a difficult exercise, so that is why I'm giving you the chance to work in groups. So probably working together, dividing among yourselves the different components and later on revising them. So it's likely that you are going to be able to do it in that way, okay? So we're done for this week. Let's say that the instructions are short, but the independent work that you will have to do is a little bit longer, right? So I think that the balance is good. Like you will have enough time in order to do this. Also, as I mentioned before, the possibility of doing this collectively may also be a good idea. Now, if you still want to work individually, then I guess you can work individually. That's up to you. But that's it, okay? So that is what we're going to finish with this week. In the next week, we are going to start dealing with the subcategories of description according to the theme. Okay, so we had a very general category that we explored last week, that was description in general. Then this week we have two, let's say, main classes, objective and subjective. And then next week we're going to go even deeper into those. Okay, we're going to analyze certain things about descriptions when they have to do with personal appearance or with personality or combinations or exaggerations about different things related to descriptions for people and for objects. Okay, so hopefully with the practice that we will have this week, you will be more than qualified to face this challenge of checking these subcategories that are even more specific somehow. Okay, so well, thank you very much. Have fun with the assignments. Hopefully you can work on them quick enough. Do not leave them for Friday. I mean, it's up to you if you want to do it, but especially with these two assignments of this week, I think that they require concentration, somehow preparation, maybe some of them a little bit of research. So I would recommend that if you can deliver them or start preparing them before the very day of deadline, that would be something good. Okay, so thank you very much, guys, and well, see you soon. Thanks a lot. Have a great week. Bye bye and hugs.